Good morning, everyone. Another day, another topic report to be discussed. Of course, let us start our day with a prayer. We are the group 6. In behalf of my group, I am Micaela, saying a little words of motivations to start each of our day ahead. A positive atmosphere nurture a positive attitude, which required to take a positive action. Believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help you create the fact. We are assigned to discuss this topic. What is science? And what is the role of science and technology in our daily life? Considering this following learning outcomes, that at the end of the lesson, we should able to define the science and technology, appreciate the importance of science and technology in our life, distinguish between beliefs that are based on superstitious and those that have scientific basis, and discuss the steps of scientific method and describe the contribution of Filipinos and foreign scientists that have improvement of the quality of human life. This lesson as we start the discussion. In your mind now, can you ask this question? What is science? But anyways, as the discussion go further, we will realize what really science itself. Before we go further, allow me to introduce to you the famous inventor in the world of science, no other than Thomas Alva. Thomas Alva is an American inventor and businessman. He developed many devices in fields such as electric power generation, mass communication, sound recording, and motion of pictures. He was one of the first inventors to play and apply the principles of organized science and teamwork to the process of inventions. Working with many researchers and employees, he established the first industrial research laboratory, and he was completely deaf in one ear and barely hearing in other is aligned. That Edison would listen to a music player or piano by clapping his teeth into the wood to absorb the sound waves in his skull. And he got older. Edison Alva believed his hearing loss allowed him to avoid distraction and concentration more easily on his work. Modern-day historians and medical professionals have suggested that Edison Alva have an ADHD. This invention, which include the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and the early versions of the electric bulb light, have had a widespread impact on the modern industrialized world. Thomas Alva was legally credited with most of the inventions produced there, though many employees carried out research and development under his direction. His staff was generally told to carry out his direction in conducting research, and he drove them hard to produce results. It's been resulted that science is a systematic enterprise that builds and organizes knowledge in a form of testable explanations and predictions about the universe or the world itself. New knowledge in science advanced by research from scientists who are motivated by curiosity about the world and a desire to solve problems. The practical impact of their work has led to an emergence of science policies that seek to influence the scientific enterprise by prioritizing the development of commercial products, armaments, healthcare, public infrastructures, and environmental protection. The pursuit and application of knowledge and the understanding of the natural and social world following a systematic methodology based on evidence. So, since the science can be also defined as the systematic study of properties, evidences, and even of observation of conclusions about the physical world, there are three major branches developed in science. The first major branches of science is the chemistry. The chemistry is the science that deals with the properties, composition, and structure of substances, defined as elements and compounds, the transformation they undergo, and the energy that is released or absorbed during the processes. Often referred to as central science because it joins together the physics and mathematics, biology and medicine, and the earth and the environmental sciences. Every substance, whether natural, occurring, or artificial produced, consists of one or more of 100 odd species of atoms that have been identified as elements. Although these atoms are composed or more elementary particles, they are the bases, building blocks of chemical substances. There is no quantity of oxygen, mercury, or gold. For example, smaller than an atom of the substance. Chemistry, therefore, is concerned not with the subatomic domain but with the properties of atoms and the laws governing their combinations and how the knowledge of these properties can be used to achieve specific purposes. Second major branch of science is the biology. The biology is the study of living things and their vital processes. The field deals with all the psychochemical aspect of life. The modern tendency towards cross-disciplinary research and the unifications of scientific knowledge and investigation from different fields has resulted in significant overlap of the field of biology with other scientific disciplines. Biology is also subdivided into separate branches for convenience of study, though all subdivisions are interrelated by basic principles. Thus, while it is custom to separate the study of plants or botany from that of animals, called zoology, and the study of structures of organisms, called morphology, from the function of physiology. All living things share in common certain biological phenomena. For example, various means of reproductions, cell divisions, and the transmission of genetic materials. Life is regarded as a manifestation of chemical and energy transformation that occur among the many chemical constituents that compose of organism. As a result of development of increasingly powerful and precise laboratory instruments and techniques, it is possible to understand and define with high precision of accuracy not only the ultimate psychochemical organization or ultrastructure of the molecules in living matter, but also the way living matter reproduces the molecular levels. The last major branch of science is called physics. Physics deals with the structure of matter and the interactions between the fundamental constituents of the observable universe. In the broadest sense, physics from the Greek physikos is concerned with all aspects of nature on both the macroscopic and submicroscopic levels. Its scope of study encompasses not only the behavior of objects under the action given forces, but also the nature and origin of gravitational, electromagnetic, and nuclear force fields. Its ultimate objective is the formulation of new comprehensive principles that bring together and explain all such disparate phenomena. Physics can the basic physical science. Until rather recent times, physics and natural philosophy were used interchangeable for the science whose aims is the discovery and formulation of the fundamental laws of nature. Physics plays an important role in all the natural sciences. However, and all such fields have branches in which physical laws and measurements receive special emphasis, bearing such names as astrophysics, geophysics, biophysics, and even psychophysics. Physics can be the base and defined as a science of matter, motion, and energy. Its laws are typically expressed with economy and precision into the language of mathematics.
Good morning once again. I am Rachel Gaspi. I am assigned to talk about the explanation talk in the form of belief. But before that, let I ask you a question. How did science begin? No one really knows when people started to study things scientifically. Please lead your ears because as far the discussion goes on, that question will be answered. Fun fact: people have always been curious about the various phenomena around them and have sought an explanation for this. This explanation took in the form of beliefs. Some of beliefs are: a falling star was a sign of good luck. Well, as we all know, many people once they saw that there's a falling star, they will make a wish because they believe that is a sign of good luck. And also, they believe that their wish will come true. There are three signs if there's a falling star. First is when a falling star will spot on your right, it means good luck. Second, a falling star spot on your left says misfortune will follow. And then the third one, if the falling star will spot on a trip and your voyage is guaranteed to be success. Next is eclipses. Eclipses were caused by a scarred dragon called Lahu. Every time an eclipse occurred, it means Lahu swallowed the sun or the moon. The eclipse moon was red because it was bleeding. The marks on the face of the moon were masks of the dragon's teeth. Then, during eclipse, many people beating gongs because they believed that beating gongs could make Lahu let go of the moon. Can you think of other beliefs that our forefathers had to explain the things around them? I will give you an example. For example, a Holy Week. Well, we know many people, most especially Christian, during Holy Week they will make mag-fasting sila. Hindi sila kakain ng baboy or any type ng karne dahil sa kadahilanan na ito ay kabayaran sa sacrifice ni Jesus Christ for all people. A scientific mind acts based on sound reasoning. A scientist follow a procedure when studying a certain phenomenon, and this procedure is called a scientific method. The following are the steps of scientific method. First is identify a problem. A problem is based on one observation. Second, gather and study information. Before setting out to answer your problem, you need to gather and study the information. There are many sources of information or many ways to gather information, such as you can observe and find out more about the problem you want to solve. Furthermore, you can ask to other people about it. After gathering and studying information, you will formulate a hypothesis, which is the third steps in scientific method. A hypothesis is an intelligent guess to explain an observation. Next is test the hypothesis. And after testing your hypothesis, you can make a conclusion, which is the fifth set steps in the scientific method. And then the last step is verify the conclusion or verify your conclusion. Trivia. Did you know that our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, was a great scientist himself? Dr. Jose Rizal made many scientific contributions. He was a lover of nature. He discovered many animals here in our country. Some of the animals that he discovered were named in his honor. These include Draco rizali, Racopurus rizali, and Apogonia rizali. And during his exile in the Pitan, he built the waterway system of the town. And that's the end of my report. The next reporter is Stephanie. Stephanie, the table is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Grace Ligania, the third reporter of Group 6. So let's start with Aristotle. Aristotle was the first natural philosopher in the ancient world. He laid the foundation for modern scientific thought. Aristotle was one of the greatest philosophers who ever lived and first genuine scientist in history. He made pioneering contribution to all fields of philosophy and science. He invented the field of formal logic, and he identified the various scientific disciplines and explored their relationship to each other. Aristotle was also a teacher and founded his own school in Athens, known as the Lyceum. Hildegard of Bingen was a Benedictine nun. She was an outstanding scientist in the Middle Ages. Hildegard of Bingen, also known as Saint Hildegard and the symbol of the Rhine, was a German Benedictine abbess and polymath, active as a writer, composer, philosopher, mystic, visionary, and as a medical writer and practitioner during the High Middle Ages. Nicolaus Copernicus was a Polish scientist considered to be the founder of modern astronomy. Nicolaus Copernicus was a Renaissance polymath, active as a mathematician, astronomer, and Catholic canon, who formulated a model of the universe that placed the sun rather than the earth at its center. Galileo Galilei was a mathematician, physicist, and astronomer. Galileo di Vincenzo Buonaiuti di Galilei, commonly referred to as Galileo, was an Italian astronomer, physicist, and engineer, sometimes described as a polymath, from the city of Pisa, then part of the Duchy of Florence. The famous invention of Galileo Galilei is telescope. Galileo invented an improved telescope that let him observe and describe the moon of Jupiter, the ring of Saturn, the phases of Venus, sunspot, and the rock lunar surface. Johannes Kepler was an astronomer who formulated the law of planetary motion. Johannes Kepler is best known for his three laws of planetary motion. These laws are: planet move in orbit shaped like an ellipsis. A line between a planet and the sun covers equal areas in equal times. Isaac Newton, PRS, was an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, alchemist, theologian, and author widely recognized as one of the greatest mathematicians and physicists of all time among the most influential scientists. He was a key figure in philosophical revolution known as the Enlightenment. Charles Robert Darwin was an English naturalist, geologist, and biologist best known for his contribution to evolutionary biology. His proposition that all species of life has descended from common ancestor is now widely accepted and considered as fundamental concept in science. Marie Curie is the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics. She was awarded this prize for her discovery of radium in 1993. Marie Salomé Skłodowska-Curie was a Polish and naturalized French physicist and alchemist who conducted pioneering research on radioactivity. Louis Pasteur was a French scientist who became known for his work on biological fermentation and decay. Louis Pasteur, for MRS, was a French chemist and microbiologist renowned for his discovery of the principle of vaccination, microbial fermentation, and pasteurization. Albert Einstein proposed the theory of relativity. This theory debunked the Newtonian belief that time was absolute. Albert Einstein was a German-born theoretical physicist, widely acknowledged to be one of the greatest and most influential physicists of all time. Einstein is the best known for developing the theory of relativity, but he also made important contribution to the development of the theory of quantum mechanics. Some of the great Filipino scientists are Claire R. Baltasar, Filomena Campos, Los Oliveros Velardo, Eduardo A. Casimbing, Bienvenido O. Juliano, Melesio S. Magno, Emil Q. Javier, Alfredo C. Santos, Gregorio T. Velasquez, and Gregorio Y. Zara. So let's start with Claire R. Baltasar. Baltasar is the author of the book Philippine Insects. Her work on insects were very useful for research on insect control. Dr. Claire Baltasar is recognized for her contribution on the research on Philippine insects. Her discovery of the Philippine endemic Hymenoptera species is important for biological insect control application. Dr. Baltasar published a book on Philippine insect as the first reliable book on the Philippine insect. Filomena Campos is known for her work on cotton in the Philippines. Her studies helped develop a technology for cotton production. This technology was developed within a short period, 3 years. She is also involved in research of sunflower as possible source of edible oil and livestock feed for cows, goats, and etc. Luz Oliveros Velardo is a chemist and researcher. She studied essential oils that can be collected from Philippine plants. These essential oils have many uses. They may be used as flavoring, fragrance materials, medicine, and energy sources. She loved her work so much that she spent 50 years of her life studying these essential oils. She was able to collect 33 new Philippine essential oils that studied their physical and chemical properties. Eduardo A. Casimbing is known for his studies in botany. He was one of the first researchers to study Philippine medicinal plants and orchids. He wrote the book Medicinal Plants of the Philippines, which is considered one of the first books on this area. He has also written 129 scientific articles. Bienvenido O. Juliano studied the characteristic of grains and proteins and how these affect the quality of rice. He showed that the amount of the substance called amylose determines the quality of the rice grains in Asia. The less of this substance that rice has, the less sticky it will be. Melesio S. Magno is a physicist. He conducted studies on the absorption and fluorescence spectroscopy of rare earth crystal, the effect of typhoons on atmospheric ozone, sky luminosity, atmospheric radiation, and gravitation. Emil Q. Javier is known for his very practical solution to agricultural problems. Because he knows that many farmers have very limited resources, he thought of practical methods of improving crop production using cheap materials. Alfredo C. Santos did research on the chemistry of natural products and the medicinal properties of Philippine plants. His work on herbs showed the properties of substances in local plants. His concern for poor Filipinos who cannot afford expensive drugs spurred him to conduct studies on local materials needed for the development of drugs. Gregorio T. Velasquez is known for his work in psychology. Psychology is the study of algae. He devoted 30 years of life to studying an algae called Mesopicae. He was able to produce 47 basic and 77 valuable scientific papers on the subject. Dr. Velasquez was also a good educator. He taught and developed generation of good Filipino biologists, some of whom became member of the National Academy of Science and Technology. Gregorio Y. Zarra is noted for his contribution in engineering. His inventions are a source of pride for us Filipinos. His inventions include the video phone, an alcohol-foiled airplane, a solar energy absorber, an aircraft propeller that is made up entirely of wood, a wooden microscope, and semi-automatic propeller-making machine.
Good morning, everyone. I am Raquel Lucing reporting about science and technology in your life. I have one question here. Can you imagine how your life would be if there were no electricity? Well, for me, I could not imagine because electricity are just some of the products of science and technology. Because we all know that electricity is very important in our life nowadays. Without electricity, there would be no jeepneys or buses for you to ride on. At marami siguro mga teknolohiya ay hindi na magagamit ngayon such as TV, computer, and other technology. Napaka-importante ng electricity kasi halos lahat ng mga teknolohiya ngayon ay nangangailangan ng electricity. Science is a systemized body of knowledge based on facts gathered through observation and experimentation. Science is the study of nature and behavior of natural things and the knowledge that we obtain about them. It is where scientists learn and discover new knowledge. This knowledge is then used by other people to create useful materials. That's why we have many useful technologies that scientists invent today that make our tasks easier and to solve many problems. Technology is applied science. Well, because scientists experiment the technology and it is science or knowledge put into practical use to solve problems or invent useful tools. It is developed as a result of scientific discoveries. The word technology comes from the Greek word technologia, which means systematic treatment of an art. Technology helps produce medicine, preserve food, and develop new sources of energy. The computer is just one of the products of technology and other means of communication, transportation, and etc. That it has many uses to make our tasks easier. Many lives have been saved because of modern technology. Today, kidney stones can be removed without patient having to go through painful surgeries. Laser technology is used in this operation. Alexander Graham Bell inspired to invent the telephone when he read the work of German physicist Hermann von Helmholtz. Helmholtz made study on sound waves. It is one of the products of technology also that very useful to us, for us to communicate other persons so far away from us. Guglielmo Marconi invented the telegraph. He based his invention on the works of Heinrich Rudolf Hertz and James Clerk Maxwell, physicists who studied electromagnetic waves. The result of technology should be studied carefully to see how they affect society and the environment. Because, for example, gases emitted by cars and factories can pollute the air. Polluted air can cause many respiratory and heart disease. Scientific knowledge should be used in making useful technology that does no harm to people and the environment, because sometimes some products of technology tend to do more harm than good to people and environment. Thank you.
Before we end the discussion of the topic, allow me to sum up the entire ideas of the topic discussed. Therefore, science is a systematized body of knowledge observations, conclusions of the general truth of ideas, and have three majors: the chemistry, the biology, and the physics. And also, scientific knowledge arrive in a form of scientific methods. Those are the identify of the problem, the gather of the information, the formulate of hypothesis, the testing of the hypothesis, and the conclusions, and the verifying of entire conclusions. As part of the science developed, also technology discovered, because technology developed through the result of scientific discoveries. So, astronomer is the one who studied its phenomena in a total, partial body of moral relating to principles of right or wrong behavior in ethical. This is Group 6. Leave you all this quote. Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. That's all. Hope you all understand our topic. In behalf of my group mates, we aim that we anticipate your learnings this day. Thank you and keep safe everyone. To God be always His glory. Love lots everyone.